What's up, YouTube? My name is Tyler. I'm a sales professional and investor from Kansas. And in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 biggest reasons why you should travel solo. And so if you're watching this video, I imagine you're considering solo travel for the first time, perhaps. And to help you in that endeavor, I just want to share some of the biggest lessons that I've learned from doing that and some things that I think you will learn as well. The first lesson that I think solo travel really teaches you is the most important one. And it's the fact that you can handle anything that arises. Naturally, if you're considering solo travel for the first time, you're probably facing some fears. You know, what if I don't know the language? What if I fail to meet people, or I get lost? Or what if a million things go wrong? And so to really decide and to take that leap to travel by yourself, there's this underlying sense that you trust yourself. You know, there's this sense that you're gonna be okay. And to leave on a solo journey, it's really an amazing act of self-trust. And through that self-trust, what you build is a sense of self-reliance that, at least for me, I hadn't experienced any other way. No matter who you are or where you go, things are gonna go wrong. You're going to miss a train. You're going to get lost in a new city. You're going to, have a lonely day where you just aren't meeting anyone and you don't know how to go approach people. You might even have times where you get sick or you get scammed or you get hurt. These things are bound to happen. But what you tend to find as more and more of these scenarios arise during your journey is that you're simply able to resolve them. The problem arises in real time. You use your ingenuity and your resourcefulness to resolve that problem, and then you continue on. And as you continue to do that, and you kind of compound that sense of self-efficacy, by the end of your trip or by the end of your first week, your first month, you're gonna have an amazing sense of confidence in yourself. And even if this is your first trip and you've never done this by yourself, you might be hearing this and you might be thinking, yeah, Tyler, but I've never done it, so how can I be confident that I'll be okay? I would challenge you, because if you look back at your life, you've undoubtedly faced a lot of challenging situations. Maybe you went through a heart-wrenching breakup. Maybe you dealt with, the sickness or the death of a loved one. Maybe you've managed and struggled through mental illness. All of these things that you've been through, if you're watching this video, you survived it, right? And if you got through things like that, of course you could handle anything that comes up during a trip. Of course you have the ability to manage that. So if you don't believe me yet, look back at your life. Look at how you've overcome adversity. Look at how you've problem solved when things have arisen. And trust that part of yourself, The version of you that's going to be on this trip is the same version of you that got through all of those challenging times in your life. The second biggest lesson that traveling alone will teach you is the power of non-attachment. Solo travel really forces you to surrender to your moment-to-moment experience and to let go of any particular outcome that you have in mind. What you'll find when you begin your journey is that predicting the future is a worthless endeavor. You're arriving in a brand new place by yourself. There's so much room for randomness and optionality. And so to be attached to any concept of how you think it's supposed to go is just going to lead you to disappointment. It's simply not going to go the way that you think it's going to go. So in my opinion, in order to be truly fulfilled in your journey, you're going to have to trust. You're going to have to trust whatever you want to call it. You have to trust the journey. You have to trust the universe, that everything is going to unfold exactly how it's supposed to. The moment you start getting attached to seeing a specific thing at a particular time, or catching a particular bus, or being in a place at a certain time, the universe will quickly and brutally teach you that you are not in control of the situation. The way I see it is that you don't go on these trips to be in control. You go on these trips to see what happens. Not only does solo travel teach you to remain non-attached to experiences, but it teaches you to remain non-attached to people. And this one is a bit more challenging. This one hurts a little bit. Something about the novelty of being in a new place and meeting people so randomly and to have time constraints. All of this chemistry, it really cranks up the volume on the way you're able to make meaningful connections. And it's beautiful, it's perplexing, it's confusing, and it's heart-wrenching and amazing. It's all of these things. And although some of these people that you meet, they will remain in your life, maybe for days or for weeks or for months, the most likely outcome is that you will go your separate ways and you may never see each other again. This is painful, to build such a meaningful connection so quickly, and then to say goodbye and then, return back to solitude and randomness. But this is also an amazing lesson in appreciating the temporary nature of relationships. It helps you embrace someone fully, open your heart fully, and love someone even though you know it's going to be a short experience. And that's really beautiful. And a lot of the people that you meet, you may never see again. But I can promise you, if you open up and you embrace people, you will never forget them. And perhaps someday you will see them again. The next lesson that solo travel teaches you is that you are not alone. If I had to guess, if you are currently considering solo travel, I would imagine you're not surrounded by people who think it's a genius idea. So in those beginning phases, when you're really deciding and you're brainstorming and you're asking for feedback, it's easy to feel a little alone. I know I did, because I was 28, I was working at a software company, and most people who are in the corporate environment, especially at my age where you're really building your career, most people don't pick up and leave and go travel for a year. It's just not very common. And even though I had really supportive friends, my friends, they thought it was awesome. Even with that support, I still felt like I was on an island, like I was doing this fringe thing that people don't do. Once you get to this new environment, you're going to be surrounded by people who value what you value. They have the same ideas. All the ideas that you thought were fringe, you're going to find that lots of people feel that way. Lots of people think that way. Not only is it going to normalize the way that you feel and the way that you think, it's going to inspire you, because you're going to meet people who are thinking creatively about ways to do what you're doing. And so if you're watching this and right now you feel alone or you feel like you're on the fringe, just trust that once you leave, once you take the leap, you will find people who will embrace you and accept you and inspire you. The next lesson that solo travel teaches you is that it will provide an infinite return on investment. If you're anything like me, you're thinking a lot about the potential financial investment of long-term travel. Not only are you thinking about what it will cost to actually travel, but you also have to consider the opportunity cost of not working. If you're going to travel for a year, not only are you spending that money on travel, but you're also not working for that year. You're not building an income, you're not adding to your savings, you're not investing. And so before you do long-term solo travel, you do have to think about the financial impact. I will be totally transparent with you. There have been days since I've been back from my 1-year trip in Asia where I've thought to myself, wow, if I wouldn't have traveled, if I would have taken all that money and invested it in this or invested it in that, or if I would have worked that year and saved, 20% of my income, imagine how much money I would have now if I wouldn't have done that. That's just how my brain works. I can't help but kind of do these calculations and think about the financial impact. It's just the way I'm wired. But any pain that I feel about that, it's very momentary, because the moment that I take inventory on the value that I gained, the experiences that I had, the amazing people that I connected with, it's obvious that the return on that investment is infinite. You cannot put a monetary value on travel. It's impossible. Don't even bother. And when I really reflect on all the meaning and connection that I got from that experience, it's almost crazy that you can pay for that experience. It seems like a no-brainer. Like, if I have dollars saved up, what's a better thing to put it into than that experience? It's priceless. It's almost crazy that you can spend your dollars and have that mind-blowing of an experience. It's like, it's a no-brainer. So even as someone who cares about investing and saving and finance, even with that part of my brain that knows I could save that money or invest that money, at the end of the day, life is short. When I die, I'm not going to think about my savings. I'm going to think about that experience in Asia. I'm going to think about the amazing people that I connected with and the things that I did. And so for those of you who do have that kind of financial mind, don't think about it in terms of monetary value. It's really not even the same realm. It's a totally separate thing. So invest in yourself and invest in experiences. You won't regret it. You will not regret it at all. The last lesson that solo travel will teach you is that you can always rebuild and you can always leave again. In the West, we have all of these fears around leaving our jobs. And part of it is warranted, with health insurance and things like that. It can be a big decision to leave your job. But part of the worry, I think, is just unnecessary fear, especially about having a gap in your resume. When I left my job, some people did ask me, what will you do when you get back? What if you don't get a job that you like as much as the job that you have now? Things like that. And so if you're facing these fears around taking a gap year or taking time off from work and you're worried about what might happen when you come back, I would tell you to just let go of that. If you're living in alignment to your values, if you're doing the things that you really want to do before you die, you don't need to feel any shame about that. And you don't want to work for anyone that's going to judge you based on that. My experience with this, when I had interviews, hiring managers thought it was awesome that I took time to travel. They either were jealous and told me, I wish I would have done that when I was younger, or they simply relate. They might tell you, oh, I saw you went to Malaysia. I'm from Malaysia. They might tell you, oh, I saw you went to Thailand. I love Thailand. It was never a point of contention. It was never a problem. So just trust that, if you're doing the thing that you want to do, people will respect that. They will admire that. There's no reason that anyone's going to hold it against you that you followed your dreams. And so solo travel will teach you that it's okay to let go of the life that you have right now and to go experience what you need to experience, wherever that is, and to come back and to trust that you have the skills to rebuild your life. You have the skills to get a job that you want. As you can see, a lot of these lessons around solo travel, they revolve around self-trust, self-confidence. And what's more powerful than that? When it comes to building a life that we want, a life of our own design, what does that require? It requires self-trust and self-confidence. And at least for me, I can't think of a better way to build those muscles than to travel by yourself. And so if you're watching this and you've never traveled by yourself, I'm excited for you. I'm psyched for you. I promise you it's worth it. If you're anxious, that's okay. Just go. If you have traveled solo and you're watching this video, I'd love to get a comment down below. What was your biggest lesson that you took away from your trip? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, hit subscribe. On this channel, I talk about travel, philosophy, and wealth, so stay tuned for more. Thanks, everybody.